the Galactic Coalition was about to fall apart. The coalition was created hundreds of years ago to stop the Araxian hegemony's aggressive growth. Its members were many different species, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. They were hurt, though, from years of constant war. Ships had been wiped out, planets were in ruins, and morale was at an all-time low. The High Council held an important meeting in the middle of the Coalition's capital city on the planet Alaris. The Grand Hall was full of representatives from the different member species. Their faces were filled with worry. High Counselor Arvonis stood in the middle of the room. He was a Thalaran leader, and he was known for being smart about strategy and diplomatic. To the respected members of the council, Talaris spoke with authority. "We stand at a crossroads. Our defenses are crumbling, and the Zinthari advance is relentless. We have but one option left: seek the aid of humanity." There was a murmur of disappointment in the assembly. The humans were a relatively new spacefaring race. They had only recently mastered faster-than-light travel. Their decision to stay neutral had angered many in the coalition, who saw them as isolationist and naive. A reptilian Dravokian counselor named Voran spoke for many people who were skeptical. People, they haven't been tested or experienced. What could they offer that we, after hundreds of years of war, can't? Calaris put up his hand to make the room quiet. People have a special ability to adapt and recover from problems. Their technological progress is amazing, and their ability to think strategically could be what turns the tide. They need to agree with our cause. A group of people were quickly sent to Earth. The envoys, who included leaders from the Coalition's most powerful species, tried to persuade humans of how bad things were and how important it was for them to help. When the alien messengers arrived on Earth, the news media went crazy. News channels showed pictures of the Coalition delegation, which showed how different and often amazing they looked. For a lot of people, this was their first direct experience with aliens. The envoys were able to meet with Earth's leaders at the New York City headquarters of the United Nations. Elena Ramirez, who is the Secretary General, greeted them with a mix of interest and fear. High Counselor Talaris spoke beautifully about their case, describing the terrible things the Zinthari had done and how badly the Coalition needed help. Picture after picture of destroyed planets and refugee colonies filled the screen, and the room went silent. There was a long pause, and then Secretary General Gonzalez spoke. "High Counselor, your plea is strong, but people have always been hesitant to get involved in conflicts that happen in other countries. Why should we put our lives and money at risk for a war that isn't ours?" Talaris kept his eyes on her. "If the Zinthari aren't stopped, they will get to your world in the end. It's not just our war. The whole galaxy is in danger. The strength and creativity of people could mean the difference between victory and extinction." The argument went on late into the night. Leaders, scientists, and military planners on Earth thought about the pros and cons. Finally, everyone agreed on something. The world was told about the decision. From now on, people will fight with the Galactic Coalition against the Araxian hegemony. As the plans started to come together, Earth's spaceports were busy. Scientists and engineers worked non-stop to get the fleet ready, while soldiers and pilots got a lot of training on how to use Coalition tactics and technology. The war effort of all people was in full swing. Admiral Darius Kane, a decorated officer known for being a brilliant strategist and a strong leader, was put in charge of the human fleet. Speaking to his officers, he was sure of what he was saying. "We're about to start a new era. Our role in this war will not only decide what happens to the Coalition, but it will also decide where humans fit in the galaxy. We are going to fight with honor, bravery, and resolve." People on Earth were both proud and nervous as they watched the human fleet get ready for their first mission. They knew how important it was, but they also thought they could make a difference. It was time for people to show what they could do on the stage of the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition's fleet was made up of ships from a lot of different species, each with its own technologies and looks. The Coalition ships were different, but they all had one thing in common. They were worn from battle. They were scarred from years of constant war and badly needed to be fixed. The Coalition fleet waited at the edge of the Sol system for people to come back. Their ships hung in the void, a sad reminder of how much the war had cost. The crew, which was made up of people of different species, carried the weight of many lost battles and dead friends. Hope was hard to come by. It was amazing to see when humanity's fleet finally showed up. The ships glided into formation with such accuracy that it showed how disciplined and technologically advanced they were. The flagship, Aegis, was in charge of the fleet. Its design was the perfect mix of function and style, and it was packed with high-tech weapons and shields. Admiral Vrex, a skilled strategist from the reptilian Drakari species, watched the newcomers with a mix of interest and skepticism from the Coalition's command ship. He had heard a lot about the potential of people, but he wasn't convinced. Vrex said hello to Admiral Kane over the radio, his voice serious and authoritative. "Happy to have you in the Coalition fleet. I hope you have good reason to be confident. Don't think too little of the Zinthari." Admiral Kane's answer was calm and sure. "Captain Vrex, thank you. We are aware of how serious the situation is and are ready to do anything to change things. Our crews and ships are ready for the test." The two fleets joined together, with ships from humanity taking strategic positions next to ships from the Coalition. The fact that the integration went smoothly shows how well the planning and coordination went. As the combined fleet got ready for their first operation together, Admiral Kane called a meeting of the Aegis's top officers in the war room. A big, hollow table with a detailed map of their goal, the Astera system, took up most of the room. The Zinthari used the system as a key stronghold. It was heavily fortified and strategically important. "Our goal is clear," Steele said first, his voice steady and strong. "We are going to attack the Zinthari defenses in the Astara system where they are weakest. It will be a coordinated attack, and every ship and squadron will be very important. Our goal is to cripple their defenses and pave the way for a ground invasion." He turned to Captain Lyra Valen, his second-in-command, and a brilliant tactician. "Captain Valen, you'll lead the first wave of fighters, target their outer defenses, and create an opening for our capital ships." Valen nodded, her expression determined. "Understood, Admiral. We'll give them no quarter." Next, Kane addressed Lieutenant Commander Malik Rahim, head of the Engineering Division. "Commander Rahim, ensure our shield generators and weapon systems are operating at peak efficiency. We can't afford any malfunctions during the assault." Rahim responded with confidence. "Consider it done, Admiral. Our systems will perform flawlessly." As the officers departed to prepare for the mission, Kane took a moment to reflect on the gravity of the situation. The fate of the Coalition, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested on their shoulders. But he had faith in his crew and in humanity's ability to rise to the occasion. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, the stars stretching into streaks of light as they traversed the vast distances. The journey was brief, but the tension was palpable. Every crew member knew the stakes and was prepared to give their all. Emerging in the Astara system, they were greeted by a sight that would have daunted even the most seasoned warriors. A vast Zinthari armada, bristling with weaponry, and poised to defend their stronghold. The Zinthari ships were angular and menacing, designed for maximum intimidation and lethality. Admiral Kane wasted no time. All ships, engage at will. target their command vessels, and disrupt their formations. We hit them fast and hard. The battle erupted with a ferocity that took the Zinthari by surprise. The advanced weapons and strategies used by humanity were incredibly effective. A lot of plasma cannons fired at once, tearing through enemy ships' shells. Fighters moved through the chaos and hit the Zinthari with precise blows that knocked them out. The coalition ships fought with more vigor after seeing how brave people were. Together, they were an unstoppable force that slowly took down the Zinthari defenses. The empty space was full of the pieces of destroyed ships and the flashes of energy weapons. Admiral Vrex couldn't help but be amazed as the battle went on. Through humanity, the coalition had gained a new level of strategic brilliance and technological progress. It looked like victory was possible for the first time in years. The combined fleet's attack never stopped. Within hours, the forces of Zinthari were in a mess. Their chain of command broke apart. The coalition took over the Astara system, which was once a sign of Zinthari power. While the last of the Zinthari fleet's ships were running away, the coalition forces celebrated their hard-earned victory. Admiral Kane spoke to the fleet with a proud tone in his voice.
We showed the galaxy today that working together and being determined can beat any enemy. This is just the start.
We will end this war and bring peace back together. When they won at Astaris, things changed. The coalition respected and admired humanity because it had shown what it could do. Everything was ready for the next part of their campaign, and everyone in the galaxy held their breath, knowing that everything had changed when humans showed up. The coalition was energized by their victory at Astaris, and the Zinthari Dominion was shocked by it. Even so, Admiral Darius Steele knew that this win was only the start of a much bigger campaign. As humanity and its new allies got ready to fight the enemy on many fronts, the real test was about to begin. The fleet headed for Zephyria, a planet controlled by Zinthari that was heavily fortified and a major supply hub for the Dominion's war efforts. Reports from intelligence agencies showed that the Zinthari were present in large numbers, with their powerful capital ships and ground installations. If you captured Zephyria, it would mess up their supply lines and really hurt their war machine. As the fleet got closer to Zephyria, the mood on board was tense but determined. On the bridge of the Aegis, Admiral Kane stood in front of a huge holographic screen that showed their battle plan. His top officers, like Captain Lyra Valen and Lieutenant Commander Malik Rahim, were all around him and ready to do their part of the mission. "Listen up, everyone," Steele said in a strong, authoritative voice. "Our goal is to break through the Zinthari fleet and take control of Zephyria's orbit. Captain Valen, your fighters will lead the attack on their main defensive positions. Lieutenant Commander Rahim, make sure that all of our weapons and shields are fully charged. We cannot afford for anything to go wrong." As orders were sent and last-minute plans were made, the fleet came out of hyperspace to find the Zinthari forces already ready to go. The enemy fleet was ready for battle. It looked like a dark cloud of scary ships. The noise of engines and energy weapons broke the silence of space as the two sides clashed in a whirlwind of destruction. Captain Valen led her squadron into battle, her fighter expertly dodging enemy fire. "Squadron 1, follow my lead," she ordered. "Turn on their frontal batteries and make a way for our capital ships." Her orders were carried out perfectly. Human fighters quickly moved through the enemy line and hit the key Zinthari with accurate blows that took out their defenses. Behind them, the bigger coalition warships moved forward, firing devastating volleys that tore through the enemy lines. Meanwhile, Supreme Commander Xylar was on the Zinthari command ship, where he watched the battle with a mix of anger and shock. The humans' tactics were different from anything he had seen before, and their constant attacks broke through his well-thought-out defenses. All of the units should regroup and prepare to counterattack. Xylar growled in a deep, growling voice. Do not let them get through our lines. The Zinthari tried to stop the attack, but it was too strong for them. Admiral Kane was very smart about strategy, and he led the fleet very well, taking advantage of every weak spot in the enemy's formation. The Zinthari fleet, which used to be a sign of their power, started to break apart under the constant attack. Though the space battle was going on, a secret operations team was getting ready for their mission on the surface of Zephyria. The team was told to break into the Zinthari command station and turn off the planet's defense grid. They were led by Captain Zara Delaney, an elite soldier known for being brave and resourceful. Delaney told her team, "We're going in hot," as they got on their stealth dropship. "The main thing we want to do is destroy their defense grid. Second goal, find out anything you can about how the Zinthari command works. Watch out for each other, move quickly, and stay sharp." Using advanced stealth technology, the dropship fell through the atmosphere without being seen. As the team got closer to their landing zone, they got ready to fight right away. Delaney led the charge into the enemy-held facility as the ramp went down. The Zinthari soldiers were ready for them. With their tall bodies and high-tech armor, they were very dangerous opponents. With their cutting-edge exosuits and weapons, Delaney's team fought with a ferocity that had never been seen before. As the humans moved forward, laser fire and explosions filled the hallways, killing anyone who tried to stop them. Over the noise of the battle, Delaney yelled, "Make way for the control room! Before our fleet can start bombarding from orbit, we need to turn off that grid." Even though there was strong opposition, the team moved forward methodically. Delaney, in particular, showed how to stay calm under pressure. Her strategic mind made it easy for her to handle the chaos. With each Zinthari that they killed, they got closer to their goal. In the end, they broke into the control room. Technician Luis Ramos hacked the system right away, swiping his fingers all over the console. "Please cover me. This could take a moment." As the team defended the area, the sound of more help coming in got louder. Delaney knew they didn't have much time left. "Ramos, hurry up. We can't keep them away longer." Ramos turned off the defense grid with a happy beep. "I get it! The grid is down!" Being able to turn off the defense grid gave the Coalition fleet a very important window of time. Admiral Kane didn't waste any time. "All ships, start bombarding from orbit. Hit their bases on the ground to make room for our ground forces." From high in the sky, the Coalition warships fired a never-ending stream of plasma and kinetic rounds at the Zinthari defenses below. The attack broke through the defenses that had been solid before, sending panic through the Zinthari ranks. Captain Delaney and her team got new orders on the surface. Stay where they are and protect the command station until more help arrives. They were even more determined when they heard explosions far away and saw Zinthari ships falling from the sky. But the Zinthari were still not out of the fight. Waves of enemy soldiers came charging at the command station, determined to take it back. Delaney and her team made their positions stronger, getting ready for the attack that was sure to come. "Incoming! Hold the line!" Delaney commanded, her voice steady despite the dire circumstances. The battle that ensued was brutal. Zinthari soldiers, driven by desperation and fury, threw themselves at the human defenders. The corridors of the command station became a deadly gauntlet, filled with the sounds of gunfire, explosions, and the cries of the wounded. Delaney fought with relentless determination, her exosuit enhancing her strength and speed. She moved through the chaos with surgical precision, her rifle finding its mark with each shot. Beside her, Sergeant Ivan Koslov, a hulking figure of raw power, used his heavy weaponry to devastating effect, mowing down waves of attackers. As the battle raged, Lieutenant Hannah Park, the team's medic, worked tirelessly to treat the wounded. Her calm demeanor and quick hands saved many lives, her efforts crucial to keeping the team combat ready. Despite their valiant efforts, the sheer number of Zinthari began to take its toll. Delaney knew they couldn't hold out indefinitely. "We need those reinforcements now!" she shouted into her comms, hoping the fleet was aware of their predicament. Above, Admiral Kane monitored the situation closely. Seeing the intensity of the ground battle, he made a decisive call. "Deploy the ground troops immediately. Connor's team needs support, and we need to secure that command station." Dropships carrying coalition ground forces descended through the thick of the battle, landing amidst heavy fire. The reinforcements, a mix of human and coalition soldiers, charged into the fray, their arrival tipping the balance. With the additional firepower, Delaney and her team were able to push back the Zinthari, securing the command station. The combined forces swept through the remaining enemy positions, driving the Zinthari into full retreat. As the dust settled, Captain Delaney stood among the ruins of the command station, surveying the battlefield. The cost had been high, but the mission was a success. Zephyria, a critical Zinthari stronghold, was now under coalition control. Admiral Kane's voice crackled through her comms. "Excellent work, Captain Delaney. You've secured a vital victory for the coalition. Prepare for extraction and regroup with the fleet. We have more battles ahead and will need your expertise." Delaney acknowledged the order, feeling a mix of exhaustion and pride. The battle for Zephyria had been fierce, but it was a crucial step towards their ultimate goal, defeating the Zinthari Dominion once and for all. As they prepared to leave the war-torn planet, the soldiers knew that their fight was far from over, but they were ready for whatever came next. Admiral Darius Kane stood on the bridge of the Aegis, watching the tactical displays that filled the air with holographic data. The victory at Zephyria had been a crucial step, but Kane knew the war was far from over. The coalition needed a decisive blow to break the Araxian hegemony's spine. That blow would come in the form of humanity's most advanced and secretive weapon, the Nova Cannon. Developed in utmost secrecy, the Nova Cannon was a weapon of unprecedented power. It was capable of generating a focused energy burst that could obliterate entire fleets in a single shot. Until now, it had remained hidden, a last resort that could turn the tide in the most desperate of situations. "Admiral Kane, the fleet is ready," said Captain Lyra Valen, her eyes reflecting the same determination that had carried them through countless battles. Steele nodded, his face a mask of resolve.
"Good. The Zinthari flagship, the Wrath of Kor, is what we want to hit. It's their most powerful warship, and its destruction will send a clear message to the entire Dominion. The Wrath of Kor was a behemoth, a dreadnought bristling with weapons and protected by layers of shields and armor. It served not only as a command ship, but also as a symbol of Zinthari might. Destroying it would demoralize the enemy and disrupt their command structure. The Aegis, along with its escort of coalition ships, entered the Darnex sector, where the Wrath of Kor was stationed. The enemy fleet, alerted to their presence, began to mobilize. The tension on the bridge of the Aegis was palpable. "All ships, prepare for engagement. Activate the Nova Cannon and begin charging sequences," Steele ordered. The Nova Cannon, housed within the belly of the Aegis, began to hum with power. Engineers and technicians monitored the energy levels, ensuring everything was in perfect alignment. The charging process took time, and during this window, they were vulnerable. Enemy ships are approaching fast, Admiral. We need to hold them off until the cannon is ready, Hayes reported.
Steele's gaze hardened. Launch all fighters and engage the enemy. Protect the Aegis at all costs. Captain Hayes relayed the orders, and the space around the Aegis erupted into chaos as Coalition fighters swarmed out to meet the Zinthari onslaught. The enemy fleet, realizing the importance of the Aegis, focused their attacks on it. Waves of enemy fighters and bombers hurled themselves at the human flagship, but the Coalition forces, inspired by humanity's resilience, fought with tenacity. Shields holding at 80%, Lieutenant Commander Malik Rahim reported, his fingers dancing over the control panels. Keep them up, Malik. We need just a few more minutes, Kane replied, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The battle intensified. The Coalition ships formed a protective perimeter around the Aegis, their weapons blazing. Despite the overwhelming odds, they held their ground, buying precious time for the Nova cannon to charge. Finally, the moment came. Nova cannon is fully charged and ready to fire, Admiral, an engineer announced, his voice taut with anticipation. Steele stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the wrath of Kor. Target locked. Fire the Nova cannon. The Aegis shuddered as the Nova cannon unleashed its devastating energy burst. A blinding beam of light shot forth, cutting through the void and striking the wrath of Kor with unerring precision. The Zinthari dreadnought's shields flared brilliantly, struggling to contain the immense power, but it was futile. The beam pierced through, slicing the ship in half and triggering a massive explosion that consumed everything in its vicinity. The void was filled with the debris of the wrath of Kor, the once mighty symbol of Zinthari power, now reduced to a field of wreckage. The enemy fleet, witnessing the destruction of their flagship, wavered. Panic spread through their ranks, and the coordinated assault crumbled as ships began to retreat. Cheers erupted on the bridge of the Aegis. Admiral Kane allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before addressing his crew.
Well done, everyone. This victory will be remembered, but we can't rest yet.
There are more battles ahead. As the Coalition fleet regrouped, the news of the wrath of Kor's destruction spread like wildfire. For the first time, hope surged through the Coalition ranks. The Zinthari, faced with humanity's formidable power and strategic brilliance, had been dealt a crippling blow. The destruction of the wrath of Kor sent shockwaves through the Araxian hegemony. For centuries, they had been the galaxy's undisputed conquerors, their power unchallenged. Now, their most formidable warship lay in ruins, and their forces were in disarray. The psychological impact on both the Zinthari and the Coalition was profound. In the Coalition's war room on the Aegis, Admiral Kane and his senior officers convened to plan their next move. Holographic displays showed the shifting tides of the war, with red markers indicating Zinthari strongholds and blue for Coalition-controlled territories. "We have a rare opportunity," Kane began, his voice steady and confident. "The Zinthari are shocked by our attack. We need to take the lead and hit them where it hurts the most. Our target is Zintheria, their homeworld." The room was filled with a murmur of surprise. Zintheria was the center of Zinthari power. It was a planet with strong defenses and their best troops guarding it. It was a brave and risky move to attack it. Always smart, Captain Valen leaned forward. "Admiral, the defenses in Zintheria are thought to be the best in the Dominion. It's not going to be easy, even with the Nova cannon." Kane said, "Yes. I know there are risks, but we need to really hurt them. The momentum we have now comes from our recent wins. We need to make use of it." Lieutenant Commander Rahim, How ready is our fleet right now? Rahim looked over the newest reports.
Our ships have been damaged, but work is being done to fix them. Soon, the fleet will be ready to go.
We'll have to work closely with the coalition forces, though. Their help will be very important.
Admiral Cathar spoke up. He was connected from the coalition command ship. Admiral Kane, the destruction of the Wrath of Kor has given our people hope. We're ready to back you up.
The coalition is going to give this attack its full power.
Kane thanked Vrex for his help with a nod.
Captain Vrex, thank you. We'll need every soldier and ship. Both space and ground forces will work together on this attack. Your team, Captain Delaney, will play a very important part.
Delaney stood up straight. He was still recovering from how hard the Zephyr mission was.
Admiral, we're all set. What do you need from us? Your group will get inside Xyntheria's planetary defense grid and turn it off from the inside. This will let our fleet fight their forces directly and help the invasion on the ground. Even though it's dangerous, I know you can do it.
Delaney nodded, and her face was set.
We'll get it done, sir. The preparations started right away.
The coalition fleet and the human fleet joined together to make the biggest armada ever. While soldiers trained hard for the battle that was coming up, engineers and technicians worked around the clock to fix and improve ships. There was a clear sense of urgency and determination. As the fleet got closer to Xyntheria, it became clear how strong the enemy's defenses were. There was a strong network of space stations, orbital platforms, and patrolling warships around the planet. The Xynthari were ready to fight. Steele told everyone on board to get ready for battle. That's it. The galaxy's future depends on how well we do. The battle started as the fleet came out of hyperspace. Xyntheria's defenses fired right away, and their strong energy weapons went right through the void. The coalition ships fired back, and the two sides got into a fierce battle. While everything was going crazy, Connor's team launched their stealth dropship, which snuck through the defenses and headed for the planet's surface. The infiltration team was made up of the best soldiers from both the human and coalition forces, each one chosen especially for this important mission. As they fell through the atmosphere, Delaney told her team that their target was the main defense control center.
Once they disabled it, their fleet would have a clear view of their command infrastructure. Stay sharp and move fast. The dropship landed in a dense jungle, providing cover for their approach. The team moved with practiced efficiency, their advanced gear and training allowing them to navigate the treacherous terrain swiftly and silently. As they neared the facility, they encountered heavy resistance. Xynthari soldiers, alerted to their presence, launched a fierce counterattack. The ground erupted in a flurry of laser fire and explosions. Delaney and her team fought back with relentless determination, their superior tactics and technology giving them an edge. "Push forward! We need to reach the control center!" Delaney shouted, leading the charge. Despite the fierce opposition, the team advanced, breaching the facility's outer defenses. Inside, the corridors were a maze of fortified positions and automated turrets. Every step was contested, but Delaney leadership and the team's cohesion saw them through. Finally, they reached the control center. Technician Ramos immediately set to work on the security systems, bypassing firewalls and hacking into the mainframe. "Cover me. This is going to take a minute." The team formed a defensive perimeter, holding off waves of Xynthari reinforcements. The intensity of the battle was staggering, but they held their ground, their determination unwavering. "Almost there. Got it. Defense grid is down," Ramos exclaimed. Above, Admiral Kane watched as the planetary defenses flickered and died. All ships, commence the assault on Xyntheria. Ground forces, prepare for deployment. With the defense grid disabled, the fleet unleashed its full firepower.
Orbital bombardments targeted key installations, while dropships carrying ground troops descended to the surface. The final battle for Xantheria had begun. As Connor's team regrouped with the incoming forces, the scale of the conflict became apparent. The entire planet was a war zone, with Coalition and Xanthari forces clashing across multiple fronts. Yet, despite the chaos, the Coalition's superior coordination and the element of surprise gave them the upper hand. Admiral Kane, overseeing the battle from orbit, directed his forces with unmatched precision. Every ship and soldier had a role to play, and their combined efforts began to turn the tide. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was clear. The Xanthari, overwhelmed and demoralized, began to retreat. Victory was within reach. As the Coalition forces secured the last stronghold on Xantheria, the realization of their triumph began to sink in. The Xanthari Dominion, once the galaxy's greatest threat, had been brought to its knees. Admiral Kane addressed the fleet, his voice filled with pride and determination. This victory is not just ours, but the galaxy's. We've shown that unity and courage can overcome any foe. The war is not over, but today we have taken a giant step towards peace. The fall of Xantheria marked a turning point in the war. The Coalition, bolstered by humanity's strength and leadership, continued their campaign with renewed vigor. The message was clear. The tide had turned, and the days of the Araxian hegemony were numbered. With the planetary defense grid down and the initial assault successful, the Coalition forces set their sights on the heart of Xantheria. This planet, a fortress world, was the seat of the Xanthari Dominion's power. Its capital, Drethar, was protected by layers of defenses, both technological and biological, and was home to the Dominion's ruling council. Admiral Darius Steele, aboard the Aegis, oversaw the ongoing bombardment. Despite their initial success, he knew that capturing the capital would be an arduous task. The Xanthari, cornered and desperate, would fight with everything they had left. Admiral Steele.
We have confirmed the location of their command center in Drathar, reported Lieutenant Commander Malik Rahim.
It's heavily fortified, but our intelligence suggests it's the nerve center of their entire operation. Kane nodded, his mind already working through the tactical implications. Prepare for a coordinated assault. We'll need ground troops to infiltrate the city and target the command center directly. Captain Delaney team will lead the way. On the surface, the Coalition ground forces regrouped and resupplied. Captain Zara Delaney gathered her team for a final briefing. They had been instrumental in disabling the planetary defenses, and now they were tasked with the critical mission of capturing the Xanthari command center. "Listen up, team," Delaney began, her voice steady but intense. "This is it. The heart of the Xanthari Dominion. Our objective is the command center in the capital. Expect the heaviest resistance we've faced yet. Stay focused, watch each other's backs, and let's get this done." The dropships descended towards Drathar, weaving through a barrage of anti-aircraft fire. The cityscape below was a mix of towering spires and fortified bunkers, a testament to Xanthari engineering. As the dropships touched down, the soldiers disembarked, quickly forming defensive positions. Delaney led her team through the maze of streets and alleys, their advanced exosuits providing enhanced mobility and protection. The Xanthari soldiers, towering and heavily armored, launched relentless attacks, but the human and Coalition forces fought back with equal ferocity. "Push forward. We need to break through to the command center," Delaney shouted over the cacophony of battle. The urban warfare was brutal. Buildings crumbled under artillery fire, and the streets were filled with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. Despite the chaos, the Coalition forces advanced. their determination unyielding. Captain Connor's team reached the outer perimeter of the command center, a massive structure surrounded by defensive turrets and energy shields. "Ramos, get those shields down," Delaney ordered. Technician Luis Ramos, using his expertise, hacked into the Xanthari systems, disabling the shields. "Shields are down. Move in." The team stormed the command center, encountering fierce resistance from the Xanthari elite guards. The corridors were a battleground, but Delaney and her team fought with unmatched skill and determination. Inch by inch, they pushed forward, reaching the central control room. Inside, the Xanthari commanders, realizing their imminent defeat, fought with desperation. Delaney engaged in hand-to-hand combat with one of the Xanthari leaders, a brutal clash of strength and skill. With a final, decisive blow, she secured the control room, signaling the completion of their mission. "Command center secured, Admiral," Delaney reported, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. "Excellent work, Captain." "Hold your position and prepare for extraction," Kane replied.
"All units, the command center is ours. Begin mop-up operations and secure the city."
With the command center in Coalition hands, the fall of Drethar was inevitable. However, the Xanthari forces, loyal to the end, launched a desperate counterattack to reclaim their capital. The Coalition troops braced themselves for one final stand. Admiral Kane, observing the situation from orbit, understood the importance of breaking the remaining Xanthari defenses quickly. "Prepare the fleet for a final bombardment. We need to take out their remaining strongholds and fortifications." The Aegis and other Coalition ships targeted key Xanthari positions, unleashing a relentless barrage that shattered the last vestiges of their defenses. The ground shook as orbital strikes hit their marks, causing widespread destruction among the Xanthari forces. On the ground, Captain Delaney and her team fortified their position within the command center, repelling wave after wave of enemy attacks. The Xanthari, driven by a mix of desperation and fanaticism, fought fiercely, but the Coalition soldiers held their ground. In the midst of the battle, Lieutenant Hannah Park, the team's medic, worked tirelessly to treat the wounded. Her calm demeanor and swift actions saved many lives, her dedication a beacon of hope amid the chaos. "Keep fighting. We're almost there," Delaney urged her team, her voice unwavering. As the orbital bombardment continued, the Coalition forces advanced, systematically dismantling the Xanthari defenses. The tide of battle had turned decisively in their favor, and the enemy's resolve began to crumble. Back in orbit, Admiral Kane received a critical update from the Intelligence Division. "Admiral, we've intercepted communications indicating that the Xanthari leadership is planning to evacuate."
"We need to cut off their escape routes."
Kane's eyes narrowed. "Deploy interceptors and blockade their escape vectors. We cannot allow their leaders to flee." Coalition interceptors, swift and deadly, swarmed the designated escape routes, targeting any Xanthari ships attempting to break free. The coordinated effort ensured that the Xanthari leadership was trapped on Xantheria, forced to face the consequences of their actions. On the ground, the final Xanthari stronghold fell. Coalition forces led by Captain Delaney secured the last remnants of the enemy's defenses. The capital city, Drethar, was now under complete Coalition control. Admiral Kane's voice echoed through the comms, a mixture of relief and triumph. "Coalition forces, the siege of Xantheria is over. The Xanthari Dominion has been defeated."
"Well done, everyone."
Cheers erupted among the troops. The once invincible Xanthari Dominion had been brought to its knees by the combined might of humanity and the Coalition. The victory was not just a military triumph, but a symbol of unity and resilience. As the dust settled, Captain Connor stood amidst the ruins of the command center, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. The cost had been high, but the outcome was worth it. The galaxy was finally free from the shadow of the Zinthari Dominion. Admiral Kane, addressing the entire fleet, spoke with pride and determination. Today we have achieved what many thought impossible. We have defeated the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known. This victory belongs to all of us, human and coalition alike. We have proven that together we are unstoppable. The fall of Zintheria marked a turning point in galactic history. The coalition, strengthened by humanity's resolve and ingenuity, continued to push forward, reclaiming lost territories and restoring peace to the war-torn galaxy. As the coalition forces began the process of rebuilding and stabilizing the liberated worlds, a new era of cooperation and unity emerged. The war had forged an unbreakable bond between the diverse species, each contributing their strengths to a shared future. Captain Delaney, reflecting on the battles fought and won, knew that their work was far from over. But for now, they could celebrate a hard-earned victory and look forward to a brighter tomorrow. The message was clear. When humanity finally joined the war, they not only changed the course of the conflict, but also paved the way for a lasting peace. The galaxy would forever remember the courage and determination that led to the fall of the Zinthari Dominion and the dawn of a new era. The fall of Zintheria had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, but the war was not over. Pockets of Zinthari resistance remained, and their remnants were scattered across various strongholds. Admiral Kane and the Coalition knew that to secure a lasting peace, they needed to dismantle the Zinthari war machine completely. The next target was the Zinthari capital city, Drathar. Though their planetary defenses were down, the city itself was a labyrinth of fortified positions and hidden dangers. The Zinthari were masters of guerrilla warfare, and they were prepared to defend their home to the last soldier. The combined coalition forces, now more cohesive and battle-hardened, prepared for the final assault. The plan was to deploy ground troops in a coordinated strike, targeting the remaining strongholds and neutralizing the last of the Zinthari command. Captain Zara Delaney and her elite team, having played pivotal roles in previous missions, were once again at the forefront. They would lead the ground forces into Drathar, paving the way for the main assault. Captain Delaney, Admiral Kane addressed her via a secure comlink. "This mission is critical. We need to break their command structure once and for all. Your team will lead the charge. Good luck." "Understood, Admiral."
We'll get it done.
Delaney replied, her voice steady and filled with resolve. The Coalition ground forces descended upon Drathar, their dropships navigating through anti-aircraft fire. As they landed, they were met with immediate resistance. The Zinthari had fortified every street and building, turning the city into a maze of death traps. Delaney led her team through the war-torn streets, their advanced exosuits providing a critical edge in the close-quarters combat. They moved with precision, clearing buildings and securing key positions. The sounds of battle echoed around them, but the Coalition forces pressed on, their determination unwavering. "Squad, we've got movement on the left!" shouted Sergeant Ivan Koslov, his heavy weaponry mowing down a group of advancing Zinthari soldiers. "Keep pushing! We need to reach the central command hub!" Delaney urged, her rifle blazing as she took down enemies with deadly accuracy. As they fought their way through the city, the team encountered fierce resistance. The Zinthari, driven by desperation and a fierce loyalty to their cause, fought with everything they had. But the Coalition's superior tactics and technology began to turn the tide. In the heart of Drathar, Connor's team reached the Zinthari command hub. The building was heavily guarded, But Ramos quickly hacked the security systems, opening the doors for the assault team. Inside, they faced the last line of Zinthari elite guards. The battle was intense and brutal. Delaney and her team moved with lethal efficiency, neutralizing the guards and securing the command center. The remaining Zinthari commanders, realizing the futility of their resistance, surrendered.
"Command hub secured, Admiral,"
Delaney reported, her voice carrying a note of triumph. "Excellent work, Captain. All units, focus on clearing the remaining resistance. The city must be completely secured," Kane ordered. With the command hub under Coalition control, the remaining Xanthari forces in Drathar began to crumble. The Coalition troops, bolstered by their recent victories, swept through the city, eliminating the last pockets of resistance. As the sun rose over Drathar, the reality of their victory began to sink in. The Shinthari Dominion, once a seemingly unstoppable force, had been defeated. The streets of the capital were littered with the remnants of battle. But amidst the rubble, a new hope emerged. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the Aegis, overlooking the liberated city. His voice, filled with pride and relief, addressed the entire coalition. "Today, we stand victorious. The Zinthari Dominion has fallen. This victory belongs to all of us, human and coalition alike. We have proven that unity and courage can overcome any foe." Cheers erupted across the communication channels, a collective celebration of their hard-earned triumph. The war had cost many lives, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond between the diverse species of the coalition. On the ground, Captain Delaney and her team regrouped, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and pride. The battle for Drathar had been their toughest challenge yet, but they had emerged victorious. "Looks like we did it," Sergeant Kosloff said, a rare smile breaking across his stern face. Delaney nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. "We did, but there's still work to be done. We need to help rebuild and ensure the peace we fought for." As the coalition forces began the process of reconstruction, the true scale of their achievement became clear. The Shinthari, now leaderless and scattered, posed no further threat. The liberated planets, once under the oppressive rule of the Dominion, began to rebuild and recover. Admiral Kane and the coalition leadership worked tirelessly to stabilize the region, establishing a new order based on cooperation and mutual respect. The war had taught them valuable lessons, and they were determined to create a lasting peace. In the weeks that followed, the coalition held a grand ceremony to commemorate the end of the war. Representatives from all member species gathered on the newly liberated world of Zephyria, now a symbol of their unity and resilience. Captain Delaney, Admiral Kane, and other key figures were honored for their bravery and leadership. The ceremony was a moment of reflection and celebration, marking the beginning of a new era. Addressing the assembled crowd, Admiral Kane spoke with heartfelt conviction. "We have faced unimaginable challenges and endured great sacrifices, but through it all, we have emerged stronger and more united. The Zinthari Dominion may have sought to divide and conquer, but we have proven that together we are unstoppable. This victory is not just the end of a war, but the dawn of a new chapter for the galaxy." As the celebrations continued, the people of the coalition looked to the future with hope. The war had forged a new alliance, one built on trust and cooperation. Humanity, once an untested ally, had proven its worth and earned its place among the stars. Captain Delaney, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment, felt a deep sense of pride. They had not only won a war, but had also laid the foundation for a brighter future. The message was clear. When humans finally joined the war, they not only changed the course of the conflict, but also paved the way for a lasting peace. The galaxy would forever remember the courage and determination that led to the fall of the Zinthari Dominion and the dawn of a new era.